Welcome back, everyone. In today's episode, we're tackling how to scrape Crunchbase company data in 2026. I've put together a really thorough breakdown for you, covering everything from the basics to some advanced strategies. Let's do this. Crunchbase is the premier business data platform for tracking startups, venture capital, and private company information. With data on over 4 million companies, including funding rounds, acquisitions, leadership, and key metrics, Crunchbase is essential for investors, sales teams, market researchers, and startup ecosystem analysts. So what data can you extract? Crunchbase data includes company profiles with description, founded date, headquarters, and employee count, funding rounds with amount, date, investors, and series type, investor profiles with portfolio, fund size, and investment focus, acquisitions with acquirer, price, and date, key people including founders, executives, and board members, company categories and industry tags, financial metrics like revenue ranges and valuation estimates, and news and events are very steady. There are two main methods for extracting this data. Method one is using the Crunchbase API, which is the recommended approach. Crunchbase offers both free and paid API access. The way it works is you authenticate with your API key and then you can search for organizations, get detailed company data, pull funding rounds for specific companies, and search for funding rounds with filters like minimum amount and date ranges. For searching, you use the autocomplete endpoint, which lets you query organizations by name and get back matching results. For detailed company data, you specify which fields you want, like short description, founding date, location, employee count, categories, total funding, last funding type, and investor count. The search endpoint for funding rounds lets you filter by minimum amount and date and sort by announcement date, which is great for tracking the latest deals. Method 2 is web scraping Crunchbase directly. This is for data not available through the API. However, Crunchbase uses aggressive anti-bot protection, so this is significantly more challenging than using the API. The first challenge is JavaScript rendering. Crunchbase is a React-based single-page application. Simple HTTP requests return minimal data. For web scraping as opposed to API access, you need to use Selenium or Playwright to render the full page. The second challenge is rate limiting. The Crunchbase API enforces strict rate limits depending on your plan tier. Implement exponential backoff to handle rate limit responses gracefully. The third challenge is session management. Crunchbase tracks browsing sessions closely. Rotate user agents and clear cookies between scraping batches. For API access, use a single persistent session to avoid triggering anomaly detection. For storing the data, you'll want a structured database for investment research and sales intelligence pipelines. This lets you track companies over time, analyze funding trends, and build comprehensive startup ecosystem maps. For proxy recommendations, when using the API, any proxy type works fine. For web scraping, residential proxies are recommended because Crunchbase's anti-bot system is quite aggressive. Regarding legal considerations, there are important things to know. The Crunchbase API terms restrict data resale and creating competing products. Web scraping is prohibited in Crunchbase's terms of service. Crunchbase data is commercially licensed and extensive use may require a paid data license. There are significant restrictions on commercial use of scraped data. Now for some frequently asked questions. Is the Crunchbase API free? Crunchbase offers a free tier with limited access covering basic search and autocomplete. Full API access requires a paid plan starting at several $100s per month. The free tier is sufficient for small research projects, but serious data collection requires the Pro or Enterprise plan. Can I scrape Crunchbase without an API key? Web scraping is possible, but Crunchbase uses aggressive anti-bot protections including Cloudflare and CAPHAs, and their terms of service prohibits it. The API is the recommended and more reliable data access method. Why? How often does Crunchbase data update? Crunchbase data is updated continuously by their research team and community contributors. Funding round data typically appears within 1 to 2 days of announcement. Company profile updates depend on community contributions and Crunchbase's editorial team. What alternatives exist for company data? PitchBook, CB Insights, and LinkedIn Sales Navigator are commercial alternatives. For free options, consider SEC EDGR for public company data, AngelList for startup data, or Open Corporates for basic company registration information. How do I track funding trends in a specific sector? Use the Crunchbase Search API with category filters and date ranges. Store results in a database over time and analyze funding velocity, average round sizes, and investor patterns. The search funding rounds method with minimum amount and date filters is ideal for this use case. To wrap up, Crunchbase is best accessed through their official API, which provides structured data on companies, funding, and investors. Web scraping with a headless browser serves as a supplement for data not available through the API. Use residential proxies for web scraping, respect API rate limits for sustained access, and store results in a database for longitudinal analysis of startup ecosystems and venture capital trends. And that wraps up today's deep dive into how to scrape Crunchbase company data in 2026. I hope you found this helpful and that you picked up some actionable insights you can start using right away. If you want to learn more, head over to our website at dataresearchtools.com, where we've got tons of guides and tutorials covering everything from proxies to web scraping and beyond. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.